Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the next part of the Fyziklani accompanying program, the panel discussion. And my name is Marek Jankola. I'm a theoretical physics student here at our Faculty of Mathematics and Physics. And today I have the honor to welcome you all here, but especially you, dear participants, who are young high school students passionate about physics and science in general. And maybe many of you are wondering if you should or even could become a scientist. And what does it even mean to be a scientist, right? What does science provide? What are the options? And how does a scientific life look like? Well, we are in luck today because we have here a set of excellent scientists who I believe will answer all these questions and share with us their personal stories about what they have achieved in science and how they got where they are today. So I hope that you are as excited as I am today to hear more from them. I would also like to comment a little bit more on the structure of today's panel. We'll start with a short introduction of every guest, and then we'll move to the main part of today's discussion, where I'll ask them questions and we'll discuss them. But towards the end of this panel, there will be time for your questions, so please don't hesitate to ask them at the end. And you have an option to ask them via Slido, which you can access via this code. So you just type into your favorite browser like slido.com, and there you put this code and you can ask the question anonymously, and if you pick it, we'll ask it to our participants at the end, or you'll also have the option to ask them directly, and we'll pass you the microphones later. And now, without further ado, let's get to it. First, I would like to introduce Dr. Mirko Rokyta, who is the Dean of the Faculty of Mathematics and Physics at the Charles University. He's a He's a mathematician by training. He previously led the Department of Mathematical Analysis, and he is a highly renowned university educator. Beyond academia, he is also a keyboard player in the bands Assonance and Humbug. Dr. Rokyta, I have a question for you. So, John von Neumann once said, in mathematics you don't understand things, you just get used to them. Well, what do you think he meant by this, and do you agree?
Good evening. I must say I agree partially. It means in part. Some things are understandable, and some things in mathematics are so complicated that you simply cannot understand them fully. So you just want to get used to them, to learn how to deal with them, and this is all what you can do with them.
Yes, I certainly experienced this during my studies. All right, and moving on to Dr. Tomáš Slanina, who leads a junior research group at the Institute of Organic Chemistry and Biochemistry, where he focuses on redox photochemistry. He attended his first international conference when he was just 17 years old, and he is a passionate lecturer, and his work has earned him numerous awards and grants, including the Neuron Award for Promising Scientist in Chemistry and the prestigious ERC grant. Dr. Slanina, what's the most counterintuitive thing you have discovered in your research?
Well, good evening, everyone. That's a great question. Well, it's a tough one. I would say everything we look at in a great detail is counterintuitive in nature. So I try to design my research based on some principles of, let's say, physics and chemistry, and barely it works. But the fun is to actually then have a look at it and try to understand what is the reason for why it doesn't work. So I think many things are counterintuitive in my research, but I wouldn't say there is one that is the most counterintuitive one.
All right, so could you please provide one example that we can understand?
Well, currently we are trying to develop a system for charging of molecules by light. So we are trying to develop some sort of molecular batteries. And we have some pretty good design principles from thermodynamics, how this should work. And then we prepared the molecules and tried the first prototype, and we found that it works in exactly opposite way, which we still don't really understand. So we are charging with photons that don't have the energy, and it just goes the other way around. So, yeah.
All right, thank you. And moving on to Dr. Květoslava Stejskalová, who is a science communicator at the Herovský Institute of Physical Chemistry and a leading expert on Jaroslav Herovský himself. She has been named a personality of Czech chemistry in 2024. She has extensive experience with educational projects such as Nanoškola, and she is the editor-in-chief of Chem magazine, a journal popular among chemists. Dr. Stejskalová, what's your favorite molecule?
Water. Water is my favorite molecule. I like chemistry, I like student pupil, and I prepare a lot of programs for teaching chemistry in our institute. And also I introduce Herovský to young people, because he's only our one Nobel Prize. He was awarded by Nobel Prize for Chemistry in 1959, and we are waiting for new Nobelist in our country.
Yes, thank you for that. And next we have Pavel Jelínek, Dr. Pavel Jelínek, who is a physicist specializing in scanning probe microscopy. His quantum mechanical calculations confirmed the possibility of single-atom chemical identification in atomic force microscopy. He received the Fulbright Scholarship and the Rudolf Jukesh Prize, among other awards. He was a visiting professor at Osaka University in Japan. Currently, he conducts his research at the Institute of Physics of the Czech Academy of Sciences, where he established the research group NanoSurf. Dr. Jelínek, I believe that even established scientists learn something new all the time. What is the most recent thing you have learned?
Well, it's a difficult question. I learned that I don't understand a couple of things like quantum mechanics. And also if someone claims that he understands quantum mechanics, probably he is lying. So or, well, okay. I mean, that's difficult part, I would say.
All right. And last but not least, we have Dr. Petr Cígler. He leads a junior research group at the Institute of Organic Chemistry and Biochemistry, specializing in synthetic nanochemistry, where they study new types of nanoparticles for use in therapeutics. He is also the recipient of many awards, among which I will mention Otto Wichterle Premium, Neuron Impulse Grant, or Scopus Award. Dr. Cígler, you're also a musical composer, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so I want to ask, do you see any similarities between creating music and conducting scientific research? Has one ever influenced the other in any unexpected way?
Actually, I'm getting this question very often. Actually, yeah, it's captivating. Like, you know, whether this is connected or not. I see there only basic connections, like between any rational thinking, because in music, actually, in composition especially, you need to have clear mind and also to think about the rational aspects of the piece. So yes, there are, as a natural scientist, I can use some basic principles, but there is no direct connection in it. So.
Okay, thank you. And now we can move to the second part. And okay, I would like to start at the beginning, that's a good way or place where to start. So I want to ask, what was the moment you knew you want to be a scientist? And maybe we can start with from the right this time. So with Cígler, Dr. Cígler.
Oh, with me?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you named me. Actually, we cannot. Here, I cannot hear so well you, but that doesn't matter.
All right, should I repeat the question?
No, you ask whether.
What was the moment you knew you wanted to be a scientist?
Oh yeah, okay. Thanks. So actually, I was pretty young man, I mean, it was, I might be like 7 or 8 years old. I don't remember exactly. And I started to you know, I fall in love with mineralogy, with stones and like this stuff. And I was completely fascinated by that. And because this was just my life at that time, you know. So I believe one day I can be mineralogist. So I devoted quite, you know, attention to this. But later I realized that actually stones are just chemical compounds which are beautiful. So I switched to chemistry, which I'm still doing then until now. So that's my story. But I really believed, I believed since my maybe 7 or 8, I will be a researcher. That was kind of my passion for that.
All right, I believe that many of the students here, or people here, had a moment like this when they were, you know, children. But what was like the first moment that you truly knew that you are going to pursue science? Was it during your university studies, or?
Well, actually, I started to do some research already at the high school. I published my first paper in the 4th year of high school study.
Wow, what was it about?
It was about soil chemistry. So yeah, because I was born in České Budějovice, so there was no chemistry department basically, like truly chemical. But there was a University of Agriculture, or I don't remember the exact name. So, and there was one man who was really helpful in my, let's say, my development. Spent some time with me and you know, helped me to work and enabled me actually to work in the laboratory because I was keen. And yeah, and it was quickly, during 2 years, I just made some research in afternoons after the school and yeah. So that was basically beginning of my, like, let's say, scientific career. I mean, when can you call yourself like scientist? Well, maybe after finishing university or maybe after finishing Ph.D. is hard to say. But if you start to work in science, that's something which is definitely extending your life, which is like motivating you to think about, to see the world in different view, you know.
All right, great. So we can continue.
Yeah, I mean, difficult question because I don't remember any click moment where I would say, okay, now I become a scientist. So that was not the case. I also was not, let's say, I was maybe average student. I was not very, you know, I was not participating in these special Olympic games for young students as you guys do. But on the other hand, I mean, if we talk about the science, why you should become the scientist, I think this is kind of freedom, no? That, you know, if I heard some people where they go to the work every day and then basically they count hours when they will go back and do something else, I think the science, it's kind of freedom where, you know, you can do whatever you want in principles, yeah. There is no limits of of way of thinking about the things, and it's also the process of learning. So I think that's also good, you know, that you don't stop at certain age, but you are still every day you are learning new things and you are trying to keep your mind open. So I would not say, you know, yeah, this is a difficult question, but this is kind of process, no? Which when you're born or what does it mean be scientist? Also, it's a question.
Yes, it's like a second order phase transition or something. It was very smooth in your case.
It's a difficult question for me because it's a lot of years about. And when I was on basic school, I loved history and biology and little chemistry and mathematics because I took part in some competition like Olympiad of mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology. And then when I was on high school, I studied grammar school in Trutnov. It's in giant mountains, northwest from Prague, 150 kilometers, small town. And I loved chemistry, biology too, and history too also. I can't decide to study chemistry or to study history. And when I was I graduated the grammar school, I think it was in April, I was pregnant. And I entered the university, the high school in Prague, Vysokota, with a baby and studied with my baby. And then I started to work after high school, I started to work in Hejrovský Institute in Academy of Sciences, and it was my choice.
Wow, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you. So I might actually split this question into two parts. So first, when I got interested in chemistry or in science, that was pretty early on, because both of my parents and my grandfather was a scientist. They all were in chemistry. So I kind of, for me, it was a reality, or it was one of the options that you can have in life, and I had a clear idea of what does it mean to be a scientist from the practical point of view. So I kind of was interested in everything around, and I tended naturally to natural sciences, to mostly biology and chemistry, but also physics and math. And then, so I was attracted by that. But the aha moment when I realized I want to be a researcher or scientist was, as you mentioned, it was I was 17 years old, and I was on my first big international conference in Prague, and then I saw the speakers from 100 countries from the whole world, and I realized that science is so cool because all like it doesn't have borders. It doesn't have like that human thinking is the same all over the world, and you can basically communicate with people from different countries. And I kind of liked the way how science is presented at conferences, that there are these big speakers with great talks that other people can listen to, and I was fascinated by this. So I thought I would like to be the speaker at some time, but I knew there would be a long way, and I couldn't imagine how long it would happen until my first big international conference, where I would have actual research talk. But it was not actually that far away, and if I look back, it feels like just a few years in between.
All right, thank you. I believe that also with this discussion we can show people what science looks like and what does it mean to be a scientist, right? Okay.
Okay, for me it was also not just one moment when I realized I'm a scientist or I'm doing science. I'm a mathematician, which differs myself from the other colleagues because they are keen to more natural sciences, so to speak. The mathematics is very specific discipline, and doing mathematics for me always was to understand things. And even if I was on the high school, I wasn't thinking about doing mathematics. I was just thinking, and I was just wanting to understand things. If I was given the formula, I was always asking why it is working, what's behind it, and this was most interesting for me. And in fact, for the whole study on the university, this was the main questions I always posed to myself. But as I'm thinking about the word scientist, I was always wondering if I'm good enough to be so-called scientist. And on my way to understand things, it happens that I discovered something which was not known before, and I published it in a good journal, and I gained some respect from the colleagues. And this was maybe the moment that I realized that actually maybe I'm really doing the science to discover something new. And this was important for me to start this way.
Great, and you already mentioned your university times, which brings us to my second question, in which I want to ask, is there something in particular that you remember from your student times, right? Maybe something that you won't ever forget, like maybe a lecture or mathematical theorem, I don't know, what comes up to mind? We can start with you.
Well, I remember a lot of things from my studies, but maybe not all of them can be spoken freely. But what I was really fascinated was that I was in touch with really very smart people and people I was able to ask any questions, and they almost every time knew the answer, or at least knew when I can find the answer, or at least knew that the answer is not known. So this was very important for me, and this was a very nice part of my life to get close to such a people. And I would recommend every student not to be shy and to ask your teacher more frequently, because asking the smart people is the best way how you can learn things.
Okay, I might actually tell a story about what was important for me. Why did I decide for chemistry? One of the reasons was my high school chemistry teacher, and if you read interviews of scientists, they often mention that the high school teacher was one of the decisive person in their career. In my case, it was a little bit different. So I wouldn't say he was the best teacher ever. He sometimes made a mistake, and I was going through puberty, and I kind of tried to find every mistake he made and correct him, and this was really motivating me in preparation for the next lecture and the next week and so on. And there we were like challenging each other in who's better actually in the subject, and that was the real like the driving force for me to get in love in chemistry, because somehow I felt, or I realized that chemistry makes sense, science makes sense. There is a system, and if you have a feeling for this system, you can foresee some things even though you don't know about them yet. You just understand the system and you can extrapolate. And this was actually my my strategy to always like listen to what he's talking about and to analyze it by my internal theory about chemistry and about the universe. And when I saw something that doesn't fit, then I either learned something new or found a mistake of him. And but he was great because he admitted that and he allowed the discussion, and that was the best, I think, way how to handle this situation. And that's why I became really so much into chemistry.
Oof. When I studied university, I graduated in 1989. Yes, in August, and I entered a research institute. I remember that I met a lot of teachers in university, and there were good teachers and bad teachers. And I remember that I have a teacher of chemical engineering, and he became a good friend of me for the rest of my life. For instance, I cooperate with him today because I am editor-in-chief in a journal, Chem magazine, and he is my colleague in this journal. He was a very good teacher. He could explain everything, and I remember that his lectures was very, very good, and now I am a teacher of chemistry of young people, young students and children of basic school, and I tried to be like this, my colleague, my friend.
Yeah, well, instead to remember my student's age, I would probably say that it's very important when you have some mentor is to ask him question, and he should be able to discuss with you, even though you feel that your knowledge is not sufficient. But I mean, they are not stupid questions. I mean, most simple questions are very difficult. And also what I would say, it's, you know, as was said, there are good teachers, bad teachers, but also it means that your personality fits to certain teachers. So, you know, it's also good if you, when you study something, not just rely on one source, to try look at it from different perspective, because the things can be explained in different ways. Someone is probably more like based on the mathematics, someone wants to understand more like the mechanisms. I mean, mathematics is always important, I would say. That's I think this is also discussion now these days, no? How much mathematics should be involved, but I mean, without mathematics, it's difficult to advance. So, yeah, I really think that this should be the part. But, well, going back to that, I mean, I really should advise you to really look at if you study something and it's not going well, you don't understand, try to look at it from different sources or from different teacher, because that's not that you are bad, but that's basically that you are not receiving the information in the right angle. That's I would say,
yeah. I would like to follow Pavel's, but with my own personal story. So when I finished my high school studies in 1996, and then I entered university and started to actually, my primary education was in inorganic chemistry. So our teacher of advanced inorganic chemistry, he was actually kind of quiet man, not very like exciting. The talks were difficult. But he understood very well actually to anything, actually much better than us, or really like it was difficult to follow him sometimes. But and sometimes these lessons seemed like boring, and my thing was like, well, can we see it from different perspective? And that was like the important thing. Like if something is like boring, can you think about this like different way? And it happened also because he taught the similar way. He somehow understood that we may be bored, and he told us, okay, so now we skip this and this chapter and we go immediately to something which is now super cool. Like in 1992, it was just a few years before, just a few years ago, Marcus received Nobel Prize for his Marcus theory of electron transfer. It was like very popular in 19th, and he thought like, oh well, this is something what you should know. And we were like, wow, this like Nobel Prize, it's really important. It's actually, the theory was really difficult to understand, but he spent with it many hours. But we were following him because he was able to present in a good way. So because he sold it well, we were following him. It's the same if you are presenting anything or just also helping your colleagues to if you are teaching your colleagues or showing something new, just think how you will talk about this and how attractive could it be for the others, that they also can follow you and understand. Just, yeah.
All right, thank you. Listening to you, I just, well, we can all realize how teachers are so important, right, in our lives. And, well, maybe we should support them more. But enough of that, let's move more into the scientific work and life. And, well, quite often it is said that if one does a truly innovative work, he or she should enjoy it 1/3 of their time, endure it another third, and 1/3 maybe should feel neutral, right? Because if you're doing something that is exciting for us all the time, if that's even possible, we are probably not challenged enough. But if it's something, if we are suffering all the time, that's probably also not so good. So can you confirm this ratio? Is there an ideal ratio? And when we are at it, what do scientists spend most of their time doing? All right, we can start from this side, maybe.
Okay, it's difficult. I never counted my time in thirds, so to speak, that the 8 hours I'm sleeping, 8 hours I'm doing science, and 8 hours I'm doing something else. With science or with anything which interests you, it is so that if you are doing it, you are just so deeply into it that you didn't realize how time is running fast. So it often happens that I'm sitting on one problem and suddenly I see it's midnight. and I'm still at work. And my wife, there is some missed calls on my phone. What happened? So, but on the other hand, it's very important to do anything else or something else besides the science, because you cannot do science all the time. You would be crazy after some time, or stupid. So there is very important to me to have some hobbies and something which is in which you can relax. For me, for example, it's partially the sport and partially the music. And this is the time when I relax. And while you relax, it's often happen that your brain is working even when you relax. And in the time of relaxing, there come some ideas, which is also a very nice moment in the life.
Yeah, I can only confirm what you just said. I always say that scientists' work never ends, so it doesn't end when you leave the institute that you work at. It doesn't end when you fall asleep. It doesn't end when you decide to go for vacations and relax. But my wife always says that scientist work also never starts, because it's not like 9-to-5 job. It's really it has a lot of conferences, a lot of traveling, a lot of other things, some teaching and so on. So it's very broad, and it's not just a single activity that you would do. So yeah, but I have to confirm that I would really go crazy if I would just do science. And I have some colleagues where I see that they are perfect and brilliant, but they don't have anything else than science in their life, and they can just do it like that for a couple of years, but probably not the whole career. So I also enjoy music, playing music, doing sports, and I get the best ideas in the mountains. I couldn't just sit in my office and look into the screen and just invent something. It doesn't work like that. I get the best things when I'm not thinking actively about science.
Firstly, I have to say that I am not a scientist, because I 15 years care for students and prepare some program for them and teach. And when I prepared a program for children, for students, experiments, workshops, I have to read a lot of books, a lot of texts, and it's my work. And for instance, I prepare some summer school for students. I see Clara, and Clara was in our institute in August on a nano school. And a lot of time I spent with this work instead of reading books, for instance, playing piano and playing volleyball and so on. I have a family, I have 2 children and 2 grandchildren, and I relax with them. And for instance, last week I was in my family of my son, and I care for 2 my grandchildren. And instead of relax, I 4 hours prepared a presentation about some place for with my grandson. And I love my work, and a lot of time I relax with my work.
Yeah, so I think it should be like say that you should not take yourself too seriously when you do science, because I mean also in science, when you look at the current science, because when we talk here about the science, this is like this pure science. But I would say that these days also what you can see, the people who are doing science just for publication, for kind of money, you know, to how much grants they got it. And that's different kind of science, I would say, because this is not inherently the science where you want to explore something, and instead you're looking in which journal you publish and, you know, how many invited talks you got. And I think that this is a little bit like spoiling the science these days, you know. So we should go a little bit back to the roots of what the science really means. And I think this is also related then to this happiness, because if you do something which is related to real understanding, that's not depending on editor, it's not depending on referees. is just with you. I know that on the other hand, we need some evaluation in science, which is always back and forth. But I think this is one of the things, and was already said here. I mean, if you will just focus on science, you will burn yourself very quickly. You know, so then in 35, 40, you're done. So it's also important to have some other activities. And as I said, this is also related with that. You should basically not be so serious with you itself, you know, because we have to say, I mean, we are saying we are scientists, but everything is already here. We are, I mean, you know, here in Czech we have some words saying like that we are discovering. I mean, we're discovering things which are already done. We are not inventing nothing, you know. We are trying to discover or describe the reality. It's also important to understand. So if you say, I found something, that's not true because it's already here, you know. It's just, and I would say one more thing which I think it feels me like happy, if to say that, is that really I take it as a detective story, you know, because you are a detective and you are searching for the killer. Who is the killer? Yeah, and then that's something which is exciting, you know. So you see some problem, there is something behind of that, there is some electron which is causing this, and you are hunting for that to explain this. So that's something which doesn't depend to other people. It just make you happy because you are in this game.
So I think like it's super important to just don't focus only on science, do other things. It's because find equilibrium in your life, but for me important is if you do something, just do it like 100%, you know, like do it really like as a real with a real passion. So you can do science, but you can also date with someone, you know, you can make sport, you can do whatever. Just enjoy your life, because now is the time that if you just focus, you know, on pure science and read books and solve tasks and whatever, make calculus, well, it's great. Actually, your brain is enjoying, but also you need to to do other stuff. Otherwise, you later you will fall down. I've been serving a long time for chemistry Olympiad as a author of competition tasks, and also like a mentor of students at International Chemistry Olympiad and so on. So I saw people like the students which were super talented, you know, like in your age. So they were winning like gold medals at Olympiads and this. So later at the university, they started to study. It was so easy for them actually, but later they realized that actually they thought they are thinking about something else. Then they thought we are like scientists or we do science. That was not true. They were just enjoying the game of intellectual, like of solving tasks, of doing this, and about the ability of their brain. But like science, the real science is later something really different. It's a lot of unsuccessful days, things like failures. So actually, if you start now to live in the way that you can compensate these things like by other hobbies and good time, it will help you. You know, it will keep you alive, you know, later if you getting older. I really see this also in myself actually.
All right, amazing. We have started many topics to which we will get later on, but speaking about what you do most of your time, I wanted to ask Dr. Rokyta, as a dean, how many emails do you get per day? And of course, where I'm getting at is the bureaucracy in science, right? Applying for funding, writing grants.
Okay, so you mentioned just the things which keeps me out of science recently, being the dean, because this is really the bureaucratic hell, so to speak. Daily amount of emails varies between 70 and 150.
Wow.
Which is really a big portion, and maybe half of them should be answered also, which is also very important, because you can, for example, have 100 emails which are spam. You just kill them, and that's okay. But at least 60 mail each day. I must answer and think about the answers and write documents and so on. So it's not very pleasant part of the life concerning scientific achievements.
All right, so we can continue on. Could you please maybe comment on so about the funding and about writing grants and things like this? How does it work in science?
Yeah, so yeah, of course, this is a part of science that is exhaustive, and I also get the same number, and I'm not a dean, and I hate those emails when you just within 1 hour you get 5 emails that are not just like yes or no answer, but it's please read the document and write a 3-page summary. Now we have ChatGPT, so it's not such a big problem anymore. But 3 years ago, this was a task for a couple of hours, and if you get 5 of them every day, then how much time there is left for any reasonable work. So I am trying to optimize this. I try to just get as much administration off of my shoulders as possible, and I really try to organize things. But it has actually taught me many things that are transferable from science. This is management. So if you have a scientific group that is larger than 10 people, then you basically run a small company. You need to get funding, so you need to get right grants, and you manage those things. But you are also running a team, so you're responsible for people's, salaries, vacation, and all these things. So you are training yourself not just in, let's say, intellectual tasks, but also in very practical and transferable skills that in case that you decide to, let's say, go to, let's say, some spin-off company or something, I can see many of my colleagues who are brilliant doing upper management work in different companies with very high success.
A lot of emails I have to write every day and read every day. And for instance, when I prepare a nano school or some lectures for students, some courses, I have to write some emails to teacher and to my colleagues because I prepare program with them who will be a lecturer, who will be a presenter, and so on. And I think that if I write a novel every day, I write, for instance, 5 or 10 pages, but the emails are nonsense. The text in emails is nonsense. It's a novel. But it's my work, and I try answer on every email, because when some student send me an email about the question about internship in our institute, I try to send this email to my colleagues, and they care about this student, because I think maybe it's a new scientist, good scientist in this research. It's about my emails.
So yeah, about emails, probably I will not comment too much. But I mean, regarding these fundings, or the projects, I think there is this backside that this dark side that you have to apply. There is a lot of bureaucracy. Then you have to work with administration to get everything, all the money that they are spent accordingly. But on the other hand, I mean, it's also a positive part, that because when you write a project, you really have to think about when you want to be in 10 or 5 years. So it's also time, to really think about yourself, what will be the next step, And I think this is not bad idea. You know, of course, if you write grants which are or projects which are gradual, like I was measured this sample and then I will exchange it for the other sample, this will probably not be very exciting even for yourself. But if you think about how to really make something new, which is now, you know, you look at the field which you work with or in, and then you want to say, okay, where the field will be in 5 years, and then you try to write this kind of proposal. This is also inspiring for you, and also somehow to make the things clear, because you have ideas, but many of these ideas they probably will not work. So it's also good to have some, let's say, some opponent and to screen out those ideas which are not good from beginning. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there is no lunch for free. There is something which you don't like. Yeah.
Somebody can also invite you for the lunch, right? So yeah, actually, regarding the emails, I mean, if you are active, you will receive many emails. That's right. You have to somehow handle. Because most of the emails are not important, so I leave it like at the later hours of the day. So I'm not spending with emails that much time in the day. So it's good to do it just as the agenda, delete most of them, and just answer what is only the very necessary of those. So So that's the approach which I am using. And regarding the funding, so well, actually, already I remember like many of my friends, of my later scientific colleagues, I found in such communities like you are now. So my environment was chemistry Olympiad. For you, it's the Fyziklani here. I mean, it can be different competition, different group, maybe at university or whatever. But you find there your classmates or colleagues which are like thinking like at a similar level as you are doing, some of those. So if you get in friendly touch with them, if you keep it for longer time, later you actually, based on discussions with them, you can discover, or not discover, but invent actually interesting ideas. I got several grants with my former colleagues, which I know from already like the high school or university times. On the other hand, what helped me a lot was like basically spending some time abroad in foreign countries. Also there I met many interesting people, and I became quickly like a part of a, let's say, literally worldwide network of scientists, and especially for the international grants, which are quite valuable, because also the money which you can get or gain from that, it's typically a bit higher than in Czech Republic. So it's very useful actually than to apply together, and then that is much easier. So yeah, keep touching with your friends and colleagues from wherever, like worldwide or here, and this may help you later to invent good projects.
All right, thank you for mentioning this. Maybe we can jump right into it, because another relevant topic for young people is the mobility, right? And mobility. And I know that many of you have experience with stays abroad, and I want to ask if it is necessary to go abroad in a life of a scientist. We can start from the right this time.
Oh, definitely, that's the key actually. So if you wish to understand, you know, the field of science, you need to see the because we are natural scientists, you know. So physics, mathematics, or chemistry, whatever. This is worldwide. It's a general science. It's not like specific. We cannot say like it's a Czech chemistry or Czech chemistry or like Hungarian. Yeah, it's a Hungarian chemist who is good. But the chemistry is very general. Everybody is doing the same. So I think if you travel and see your field from different perspectives, it helps you very much. So you also find the friends, as I mentioned. So as much as you can, just go abroad and try to study. You can return to your country or you stay somewhere else. It's up to you. It's up to your life. if you met someone, you will actually stay there as a couple. It's also typically happening. It happened to many of my friends, but yeah, I can recommend.
Yeah, I also can recommend, to go outside or abroad. Sorry. And then basically, as I said, there is a scientific part, and there is also like personal life, because I think when you get of your country, you can see your country also from different perspective. So I was basically very skeptical about Czech Republic when I was leaving. Now I'm not so skeptical, but yeah, so you should go away. And as was said, my colleague, that basically you will see the science from different perspective. So I think why you should go away from abroad is because you will attach to the new school, you will learn new things which you can again bring back, and you can start, be inspired by these new approaches which basically you were not learned here. So there's part of the knowledge. But on the other hand, I mean, yeah, for example, personally, I would recommend to, for example, go to Japan. This is completely different country, It's not only from science, but also from, let's say, social aspect. And then you see basically also, you see your country or our society here from different perspectives. You can get also bad things, good things. So it gets you more like rich as a person too. Yeah.
Would you recommend everyone or say that it is necessary to go abroad for a PhD? Maybe you can, because I got an impression that maybe everyone should go to do a PhD abroad. Is it necessary if people want to be scientists?
I would say if you want to stay in the Czech science system, you have to spend some time abroad. It doesn't have to be PhD. It has to be typically as a postdoc or after finishing your PhD. If you want to apply for certain grants, you need to have certain international experience. So I would say definitely yes, but the level that you decide, it can differ. I know many people who already went for a high school to Great Britain, for instance, and they have a different type of education, different type of thinking now. I know many people, and I did my PhD as a shared PhD in Germany, so I think that was the best time. I went as an Erasmus student before, as an undergrad, which was also great experience. But also, I would say the most important is international postdoc stay, because after you finish your PhD, then it's time to really go somewhere else and learn new techniques, new things, new approaches. But you're already highly trained researcher that can also contribute to the other labs. So it's mutual exchange of know-how and experience that is enriching on both sides. So I think that's at least in my eyes, at least the international postdoc is very important, which might sound far away, but it will come soon.
I also recommend you, when you will be a university or high school or university students, you go firstly abroad for Erasmus for several months. And then I agree with Tomáš, when you are a postdoc, it's necessary to spend some time abroad.
Okay, as a mathematician, I must say that the necessity that it is not necessary, it's not really strictly in mathematical sense of the word true, because I know some exceptions. There are some people who were not abroad, but they are, and they are good scientists. But statistically, and I know it as a dean, I'm also the head of so-called scientific committee, and everyone who wants to be docent, associate professor, or full professor even on our university and our faculty must pass some lecture and examinations and present the results. And we see in this scientific board that statistically 99% of people who are successful were also abroad and learned something outside of the Czech Republic. And in this sense, I also think it's very important. Maybe on PhD, I was on my PhD 3 months in Heidelberg, and it was the best time of my life concerning scientific achievements. Then I had the best ideas during the stay in the Heidelberg, because I met new people, I met new schools, I entered new way of thinking about the problems. And if not on PhD, then really if someone wants to pursue the scientific career, then postdoc outside of the Czech Republic or abroad from your point of view is really, in this sense, necessary, to my opinion.
Very good. And maybe we can go back to teaching, right? Because, well, you mentioned how important in this. And actually, as scientists, teaching is a big part of that, right? So I would maybe phrase the question if every scientist should teach, is that true? And what about popularizing science? Is it also an obligation of scientists? Is it something that maybe scientists owe to general public? Start with Dr. Rokyta.
Okay, it's also difficult to say something in general that it is necessary or even recommended, but in my personal opinion, it's really very good things not to do only the science, but also to teach, also to do the popularization, or as you call it, because this popularization is the way that you try to explain the things which are difficult in an easy way. This is sometimes very, very difficult task, and you can learn on this process much more for yourself than for the people you are telling this knowledge. I think.
Has this ever happened to you? That you understood something better because you try to explain?
Yes, many times. I was just trying to continue that Albert Einstein said that the dialogue is the most difficult way and most advanced way of thinking. And I think it's maybe true, because I know that even in my school times at the university, when someone was approaching me and asking me the questions, simply he said, "I don't understand this proof, can you explain it to me?" And while explaining this proof, I realized that I understand it now more than before, because if you must explain something to somebody, then you must be really careful to put the things in the right way, and you learn from it very much, to my opinion.
Yeah, I might actually start with because the question was if all scientists should be teaching. I don't think that every scientist should teach. The amount of teaching also depends on if you're located at a Czech Academy of Sciences, where you're mostly there for research, or where you are affiliated to a university where teaching is a natural part of your work. But yeah, I think it's great that let's say the big names, the big professors, or actually becoming a professor is also, you have to do some teaching and some supervision of students to become a professor. So the system naturally involves great scientists and kind of pushes them to teach, to really keep the lectures at universities up to date and with the newest findings. So I really like. And if I could go back to the first question, that there are some things that are counterintuitive, some things that we have to live with. I really can appreciate that after many years of teaching something, I'm slowly starting to understand something only. So it might sound silly because I teach something that I don't fully understand, but I can now appreciate how little I understand things when I try to explain some difficult concepts to students.
I cooperate in our institute with about 50 my colleagues, 50 scientists and researchers, and there are a lot of good scientists, but they have some problems with explaining of their topics to young people, not to university students, because they are lecturers and presenter on universities, but when they stay in a room with secondary school students or basic school pupils, they are not good in explaining of their topics. And I am very happy because my young colleagues, our doctorants and our postdocs are good in popularization of their science, because they are very free, they prepare some stories. Through them they are explaining their science, and it's very happy for me, and it's very good job, and I am very happy that they wanted to explain their science to young people.
Okay, yeah, many things have been already told. I would say one thing is, if I look back to the Czech Republic, I mean, we have one deficiency, and this is sort of like self-presentation. No? If I compare like people, for example, from US, they are well trained in presenting stuff. And if I compare with, let's say, my generation, so we were not well trained in that. So the one part of the story of science is to transmit your ideas, because if you are not able to transmit the ideas, people will not understand, and then of course your ideas will be lost somehow. So in that sense, I think the teaching or this kind of outreach is important, because it tries or to keep or force you to basically try to present things in very simple way, and that's important. But I think that new generation, as you already said, they get better now, so that's good news. But of course, then there is this balance, you know. All your talks should be based on some knowledge, you know, because I've seen some colleagues. We had some interviews from people from US. They were great. The talks were great, but then when they come to lab, this performance was not so great. So always you have to find some balance on this.
So as I'm getting older, I'm actually 46 now. So I see I'm much more precise in defining problems and in like expressing what I want. On the other hand, I'm just realizing I'm less and less funny, you know. So it's like when I was younger, I taught a lot, like students, and yeah, we got like good relation, because it was like fun to work together and have some fun from science. Now I still have fun, but actually in a bit different way, you know. So the lesson for me is like maybe always like the best is to stay somehow like close to the students, to the real age. Like for the basic school, I see, for example, my kids are at a basic school, and they have teachers which are really young. They just, you know, like, I don't know, like 25, 30 years. I'm not sure exactly. So and they are really working very well together, while the older teachers are a bit more tired maybe from the little kids, you know. So as you are, so if you keep some distance, from, like, which is close as possible from the age level, it may work good. So that's just my observation. I don't know.
Very great. I would like to remind you that you can ask questions in Slido, or then when we move to the next part of the panel. But today we had a lecture actually here about large language models. So I will ask, well, will AI take your job?
About what? Sorry.
Large language models. So I'm asking, yes,
okay.
Is it possible, or will this be happening soon? And we can start maybe with you.
Oh no, actually that's not possible, because we are still, you know, many things which we invent, we just do for our own fun or just curiosity. So it's not like we are just solving questions which are given somewhere, or it's like we are actually formulating the questions and then we are working on them. So how can this be substituted by AI? Maybe they, okay, it can also generate questions. Well, that's true, but well, I cannot imagine actually somebody else is doing my own job exactly in the way I am doing. So it's important to basically develop your thinking in the way which is original. That's I think it's so. At the moment, I have no fear, like in this way. I'm not saying AI cannot hit us like different way, but you ask like particularly from the perspective of my work, and I think like no, we do it together with our colleagues. We do it like well and in depth, so we can just utilize it, but it cannot be substituted.
Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, as you said, I mean, we have this buzzword AI, which in, let's say, publics create some kind of fever that this is self-conscient, whatever, computer which has the rights to decide or is able to decide. This is not true. I mean, it's still kind of interpolation, no? So you have data sets. From this data set, you get some prediction, and then basically you sort of extrapolate to the situation where outside where this computer was trained. I would compare it to something, you know. So basically, in quantum physics or in physics, we rely on equations. The famous one is Schrödinger equations. The problem with Schrödinger equations, for many body problem, you cannot solve it exactly. So you may have some approximations. And also the computers are limited, so basically many problems can't be solved neither analytically or numerically. Yeah, so basically so far the science, or especially this like physics or quantum chemistry, was based on solution of Schrödinger equation or some variants. And with that you have been doing some predictability. And we were quite successful. But the problem is now the AI comes from different perspectives. So AI, what it's doing is, now, you know, as I said, there are systems which are so complex that we are not able to solve this particular equation because there are so many unknowns, etc. So it's more like when you have a vineyard, no? So in vineyard, if you want to get wine, basically there is no equation which gives you a recipe how to grow the good wine. The only what you have is that you are learning generation from generation what you have to do when, I don't know, in April there was such weather, etc., etc. So basically this is kind of common knowledge, interpolation, which somehow will learn you what you have to do. So that's what AI is doing with physics, for example, that we do not solve equations, we put a lot of data. On top of the data, we just say, yeah, I want to know some examples, and I know the solution, and then I will interpolate. So, for example, I want to search for new materials. Instead, to solve Schrödinger equation for many different materials, for many different alloys, the quantum, this artificial intelligence will tell me which of these alloys are probably fulfilling certain material properties. Yeah, but it's not that basically AI at this moment doesn't have ability to decide or create any equation, for example. Yeah, it's only interpolation. So this, I think, it's clear that at the moment we are safe.
Because I am not a scientist and I didn't work with data, I use AI only little, because when I write my editorial, I write it myself without AI. And when I prepare my materials for teaching for children, I work with some text on internet, and I work with my books, and I wrote all these texts alone. Maybe in future I will use AI.
So I would be maybe a little, not skeptical, but I would say, will it transform the way that we educate students? Yes, definitely. Will it transform our jobs? Yes, definitely. We need to get adapted as soon as possible because there will be others doing it better. So I can see that it's not about that we will still need the scientists' brains and everything, but the scientists having the tools and knowing how to use the tools best would be much, let's say, more capable of doing research that was impossible a few years back. So currently I can see that before we implement, let's say, the good practice of using AI into education and into general, let's say, routine, we are now in the transition phase, and there are some who use it more cleverly and some that don't know even about it. And in this transition period, this difference can be large.
Okay, I'm the last, so I must say that everything was already said, probably. But it was already mentioned here that some important results are counterintuitive. And I think that it's okay, because if everything was intuitive, then there will be no need for science, because there will be only intuition, which will be enough. And I think that the real science begins where the counterintuitive begins. And this is one of the aspects that I still believe, that the human brain will be more important than any machine. Because what artificial intelligence is doing, is gathering the knowledge and searching for some analogous things and searching for something which is intuitive. But we also need the things which are anti-intuitive and which are new, and there are new ideas. We cannot only build on old ideas and believe that variation of old ideas will solve the future problems. Therefore, I agree that AI can be a big help in doing things, big help in teaching, maybe big help in putting the things more clearly, so to speak. But creating new ideas, I believe, will be still the domain of human brain.
Which is connected to the motivation why we do research, as was already mentioned. But sometimes the motivation is to develop something new, to make a new product out of it and to transform it to industry in some way. So I wanted to ask if this is also a role of scientists, because I know that some of you have some experience with this. And also, is there really good research done in companies nowadays? For example, also in mathematics, is it possible that people can do science also outside of academia? We can start here from left.
Well, this is a very important question to pose yourself the question if your research is important for the society. And I was doing in the beginning of my mathematical career, I was doing something which is called a pure mathematics, which is just analysis of the things and proving theorems. And then at some moment, I also posed myself the question: am I good enough for the society? Is it okay that I'm taking the money and writing something down which may be not interesting for anyone, but maybe 10 people in the world? So at some times of my career, I switched to more practical things. I was switching to numerical analysis of the problems, how to compute efficiently, so to speak, the wing of an airplane, or if I put it very easily. And so this is the first question. This is maybe the personal problem. If someone solves the problem within himself or herself, if his or her work is important for the society, because I think this is an important aspect of the life of a scientist. And the other question was if the good research is doing outside of academia, and I don't know. I don't know. because every good result I entered in my life was made by somebody who has the connection to academia. So maybe there are some people who were never connected to academia and are doing the research which is on the top of the knowledge, but I don't know about these people.
Great question. I think it has two sides. There will be, I think, more from Petr on applied research. My limited experience and what I've learned. I heard some talks of successful spin-off companies that were founded by in academia, and most of them, I would say all of them, all of the successful ones, never started as we want to develop, we want to do applied research, or we want to make a lot of money. The beginning was always a curiosity of some scientific problem, and then I would say fascination by the properties that, oh, this works so well, this can actually help someone, this can be practical for someone. So let's try to help someone with what we've just developed. And I think this is a viable strategy for transferring scientific knowledge that has been invented in academia all the way to some useful product afterwards. So that's, and maybe to answer the second question, I was a postdoc in AstraZeneca in Sweden. And I must say that, let's say in big pharma, there are departments that do excellent science and that are not that much related to academia for patented IP protective reasons and so on. So there are companies like that, definitely. In Czech Republic, we unfortunately don't have so many of these, let's say, research and development oriented companies, which is a shame. We have some small startups, new companies that start here from scratch, and I really would like to see more of them growing here in the Czech area.
What to add? I work in Hejrovský Institute, and we are the Institute of Academy of Sciences. And firstly, my colleagues did basic research. But when I came to institute in 1989, I came to group, and they was the first group in our institute. They did applied research. Only one group in this institute did applied research. And now, after 30 years, there are a lot of groups. They are doing applied research and cooperate with other institutes and some companies abroad and also in Czech Republic. And I think it's very important to do applied research in Academy of Sciences too.
Yeah, so going to this applied science, so yeah, it's difficult. I think now there is like society ask or push scientists to do more like applied science, which I think it's of course legitimate. On the other side, one has to find a good balance, you know, because many times when you start just, I will do applied science, this will probably not work and you will just burn public money. So as Tomáš said, you have to have some good ideas, some good product, and then this will come naturally out of this. Yeah, so I think that's definitely it's worst, but if you start this idea that you will do apply science, that you will save the world, then basically I think, or then you earn some money, that probably is not gonna work. You know, you can make them more. Yeah, but I think there is another aspect which still we should appreciate is that science itself, you know, it's a knowledge. So I mean, I have little problem with periodics when we publish something and they come and they want to write something about the paper we published, and they ask for what it is, you know, the new computer, new mobile, whatever. And that for me is difficult, because always at the end they want to have this sentence that this will be for the new computer, quantum computer, whatever. And that's wrong, I think, you know, because what we are doing, if there will be some computer, part of it, what we are doing, it will be in 30 years. Maybe 40 years. There are problems more difficult, more engineering problems than scientific problems, how to bring this in this mass production. Because you have to say, okay, we do something in the lab, maybe we can do some quantum computing on a single atom, but on the other hand, this is far from what will be basically economically sustainable product, yeah? Because that's not only everything which works in laboratory in one atom will basically be mass scale production, the same in chemistry. I mean, you have many reactions which basically stop at 1 milligram or less, and then to get it to production is not enough. Yeah, and a second question was related to if outside the academy. I think definitely you can do it. I mean, there are examples like IBM, for example. This is basically, you know, they produce the computers, but a long time ago they basically found very strong laboratories where there was a basic research. And actually, if you look at now in quantum computing, actually quantum computing these days is not run by academy, it's run by Google, by IBM, by Microsoft and other companies. So definitely, and also this AI, if we can, I think we can call it like research on AI, is mostly driven by Google and the others. So they are much farther than we are in academy.
So science is actually not engineering, right? So if you really do research, it's always based on hypothesis. So you need to postulate or formulate hypothesis, and then you are asking, you are excluding or confirming, and so on. That's the methodology of science. In engineering, actually, you have some goal. You want to construct something, but what is the hypothesis? Maybe you can say, well, am I able to manage it, or can I do it? No, that's not hypothesis, right? So this shouldn't be combined, and applied research is in many cases actually oriented on these like practical achievements, which can be just defined or described, but there is no science behind it. On the other hand, and that's the important thing, is the former speaker said, like if you have an idea, like how to utilize your current projects in something which can be practically utilized, that's the way. You see the output which is coming, like as just a result of your thinking. That's really fascinating. That's like one point. Second point, from my perspective, is actually one have to consider that certain ideas are really expensive. So the basic science, which can be paid by the taxpayers, you know, and can be done at universities or research institutes, well, you can reach certain level. You can get large grant support. You can get support from scientific institutes. However, you will touch the, let's say, the limits of that. And if you need to develop or to continue in research in something which is really expensive and can be actually later used, you see the connection, how can be used, you need more money because there are no ways. So then you go for private money, and typically the private investment, they need to get some money back. So this is the way how the typically spin-offs are established. You get a lot of money, like it looks like you get a lot of money. Actually, it's just, you never get it for yourself. The money are really well controlled. They are dedicated for that research which you promised to do. And as the result, you believe you can fulfill something and create or understand the problem which is commercially useful. So the reason why you establish a spin-off actually or company can be that the research is just that expensive that you cannot cover it from the public money. And I think it's also our case. We just recently started a company, and it was exactly such a case. So I thought about this, whether it's better to sell license or to start a company, and we decided that we can make it. But okay, one more point. Somebody has to really go deeply into that. So that was not me, but my colleague who actually stopped her job at the institute and is now 100% is like as a CEO working for the company. That is very, very, important decision in life that basically you do it. If you do it like as a half-time job, like most of the people just do it like just a part job, well, I'm not sure whether the company can really reach the goal, because you need good management and good organization of the work and passion for that. So, yeah.
All right, thank you. And now we'll move to the final part where we will ask the questions from the audience. So first, I will read and ask the questions that you have submitted into Slido and that we chose. And then you will have another chance to ask via the microphones. And well, some of these questions are directed at some of you, and the other questions are more general. So if something comes up to your mind and you want to answer them, feel free to answer them. All right. So maybe we will start with the specific one, and it is: so how prevalent is discrete mathematics as a field in mathematical academia and research? Is it more studied for the purpose of making further insights into the computer science, or rather it is being done for the sake of pure mathematical discovery?
Well, it's a difficult question. I think it's a both, because as we are in the Faculty of Mathematics and Physics, we are mostly studying the disciplines for themselves. So if we are doing discrete mathematics, we are just developing knowledge in discrete mathematics. Of course, it's applicable also for the computers. But it is the first purpose of studying the discrete mathematics is not that it should be applicable for computers. It's just discrete mathematics itself, to my opinion.
Okay, thank you. And so next question is actually, I'm not really happy that it is of interest of our students, but I was somewhat expecting it, because it is a question about mental health. And the question is, how do you prevent becoming burnout? How do you prevent becoming burned out?
Maybe we already touched this question sometime before. I think this moment of relaxing, of doing some things outside of the science is very important. Maybe the colleagues want to add something.
Yeah, and I would say also that not taking yourself too seriously or your career too seriously also helps a lot. So work-life balance, even though this sounds like a oxymoron in academia, some sort of having some other activities not related to science. And yeah, maybe one more thing. There was a big scientific study that covered 5 generations already of people from different social background, with different health conditions, different economic status, and they really tracked down their happiness in life. And the most and the only decisive factor of happiness in life throughout generations, throughout 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century, was good relationships with your family, with your spouse, and with your kids, and so on, with your friends. That's something what can really hold you in difficult situations, and what can improve your, not just your happiness, your wellness, but also your health and other things.
Yes, I also recently saw a study about Ph.D. students in Sweden, and the conclusions there were very pessimistic. It was a study about the need for medication for depression, and it showed that as the time of the end of the PhD approaches, this need really arises. So maybe we can touch upon also like some systematic problems, or maybe you can comment how it is in your institutions, if you say that, or do you experience that it is like this? And maybe more general question would be how to stay optimistic even under pressure.
I mean,
it's a tough one.
I would say when I see my kids, reduce number of hours on the mobile phone. No, but that's not related to this. Yeah, I mean, we already addressed this question somehow. You know, to stay happy and don't take you seriously. Take other activities. Yeah,
fall in love.
Okay. All right, moving on to other question. All right, I'm curious who will answer this one. Do you like Benford's law? Benford's law? Okay, I don't know. All right, so it's a question for you.
For anybody who does not know what is Benford's law, is the law that is applicable in big set of data which are of many magnitudes. So it's not only ones or tens, but are hundreds, thousands, and so on. For example, good example is the number of people living in cities throughout the Czech Republic. So you take this collection of data and you look on the first digit of this, and you recognize that the number 1 and number 2 and number 3 has a different statistics being on the first number of this sample. For example, like 31% of these numbers begin with number 1, which is really counterintuitive. And there is a nice mathematical explanation for that, but I don't have enough time on my margin to explain it just now. But to me, it's very nice counterintuitive mathematical knowledge, and I like it. If the question is how I like it, the answer is I like it.
All right, and now we have a more general question. Do you think the barrier to entry to become a scientist is constantly rising? And if so, how viable would pursuing a job such as yours be in the future? Or so is it becoming harder and harder to become a scientist or established professor? I don't know, what do you think?
I would say the scientific community grows every year. There are more scientists nowadays than all scientists combined in history. And this holds for the last 100 years, basically. So I would say, statistically speaking, it is easier and easier to get into academia because it's growing. On the other hand, it's changing. So I can see that the large scientific community, especially in publishing, there are trends, there are things that are just cool, and many people just stick to it because it will be well cited, it will be well perceived by lots of your, let's say, mates in the specific region, and we are slowly, at least what I feel, we are losing some sort of diversity of ideas because science nowadays with so many scientists is more like a pop music where you can listen to similar things all ways around, all 4 chords, just in different tunes. But to really listen to something original like Petr's music, you don't get it every day. You just have to read many papers and search for it. So I think that's something what is a challenge now.
But actually, I think like researchers were always like having like, you know, you have like prime researchers who are like really inventive and original, and they are followers, because like, you know, were inspired and basically broadening just the field, but not bringing anything else, just like contributing as a follow-up research. I mean, we see the same now. You describe it as a kind of like, we have like everywhere like kind of pop music, but actually they are creators who are opening the trends, opening the fields, and they are bringing it every few years, like new ideas which are strong. So I think like, because they are just, the production is so large that we are getting lost, you know, in that. So many papers. It's like avalanche of information. On the other hand, the bright ideas can still be seen well, you know. You feel who is so. I mean, I think we are not losing the diversity, but we are actually getting also too many information, too much information. You know, like that's.
So I was more talking about concentration of ideas.
Right.
In this huge amount of course, we still have diversity. We still have great ideas. We still have original scientists, but it's very hard to get oriented in that. especially nowadays with journals appearing every week. There is a new journal, there is a new whatever. It's very hard.
All right. Another question is about the favorite organic solvent. All right. So, what is your favorite organic solvent?
Ethyl acetate for me, definitely. Yeah.
Could you please describe what's that?
It smells nice. It's not super toxic. It just dissolves well things, and it's great for chromatography. I love it since I was a small kid, because we had in a garage of my dad. He's a chemist, so he had some organic solvents there, and we were like trying to play with them, and this was one of the best, I would say. I'm not a toluene person. I don't like it. Many of my colleagues like toluene, the smell of it, but I just can't stand it.
So toluene is not pleasant, you know, like, but actually, so I like polar organic solvents which are aprotic. So these are really like, I mean, they have one disadvantage: you cannot evaporate them easily. But they have such a broad, you know, solvation abilities. I like to use them because they mix with anything basically. They are kind of chameleons, you know, in chemistry. So if you don't know what to use, you can just touch any of these, you know, like dimethyl formide, N-methyl pyrrolidone, dimethyl sulfoxide, like this stuff. These are really interesting. Some even like DMSO actually was used in maybe 50s or 60s as a component of the topical ointments for treatment of human skin or like animal treatment. So later people realize it's a bit toxic, but not that much, not too much. So maybe irritating a little bit. But it's really these compounds are sometimes I'm like surprised actually they act as they do. You know, so broadly. Anyway.
All right, thank you. And now, if you have some question that you want to ask directly, now you use your chance. So please just raise your hand. All right, if there is not such a question, we'll read the last one from the Slido, and it's a hard one. So, all right. Would you say that being a scientist and being able to work on the problems in the field you find fascinating is worth being paid less and having considerably less money in your life than a similarly skilled person working outside of academia? Would you say it's worth it?
Can you read it once again and a bit more slow? We can't hear it so well here. Actually.
Oh, okay, sorry. So I'll just rephrase it, right? Is it worth it being paid less when you stay in academia? You know, because you're researching something that you're really curious about.
Okay, it's a very old question, money or fun? And I would say that both is important, but fun is more important than money. So for me, it's enough to have enough money to live without more complications, so to speak. And if this condition is more or less fulfilled, I'm a humble person in that, then I'm rather doing the things which I like than just to earn money.
It's exactly what I would yeah, I agree. It's the freedom that it gives you, and the feeling that you really work on your own ideas, and that you're just limited by your mind and your hands and the hands of your colleagues and their collective intellectual output. That's great. So I think that's. If you want to go for money to academia, I think you should not be there, because you should really appreciate the fun that it brings first, and then see or make sure that it also gives enough to have some decent living.
Yes, I agree with my colleagues, and I think that my salary is good for me, and I catch to buy something from my salary, and it's for me very important to be in our institute and did my work because it's fun for me.
Yeah, I think this question already implies that you feel you are not good enough to be successful in science, because if you will be successful, maybe you will get a lot of money, you know. That's one thing. And the other one is, okay, it's like less joke. I mean, if we talk, you know, you go to the company, you will get your salary, you will lose your freedom because then you will be ordered what you have to do. But other thing which you don't know, I mean, what I heard is that basically if you work in these companies, there is a certain level which you have to present yourself. So it means you have to also spend money, you know, to buy appropriate car, to go for lunches, no? Expensive restaurants. So at the end, basically, probably you are not earning so much money as the scientist, where you focus only on science. So I don't know.
That's the scientist's view of the problem. So actually, why not to have money, right? So you can if you are smart, you can make money smart way. You know, I have a colleague who is spending like 30 minutes a day in Bitcoin, you know, and he gets like plus one salary every month for this. So I mean, there are multiple ways how you can easily get money if you are smart and talented. So just always keep your entertain your brain if you are smart and would like to stay in this freedom of thinking. Just stay in science or stay in whatever. Like you can even do good science in a company. Actually, it's not like you are just ordered to do this. If you are like, let's say, in a good company, you can get enough freedom to also develop and do good research there. That's not like always you are just like working like a slave, you know, in company. So there are good ways how to spend your life, and also if you are smart, there are side ways how you can easily and legally actually make money.
All right, and this brings us to the end of our discussion panel, and as a way, we prepared a small thank you gift for our panelists. So thank you once again for being here with us and sharing your stories.
Well, and good luck tomorrow.
And to you, dear participants, good luck tomorrow, and see you tomorrow.